In this video, I will for the first time reveal which of the characters I created first for my fantasy novel, and for the first time reveal an alternate prior version of the story. It actually all began with a rather different version of Pino di Pinto. Pino started out as a middle-aged fire mage, and then over the creative process transformed into the character you know. Originally, he was a pot-bellied man living in a cozy cottage in a forested area far from the big cities. He was losing his hair, he was getting old, and though he was skilled at many things, he thought he would never amount to much, and he buried himself in work far from other people. In that original version of the story, we discover that the fire mage has some unlikely mage talent, setting him apart from other mages, to say the least. And without getting into too many details, as I will use those ideas for another character at some point, let's just say that his peers thought of him in a very negative light. You see, there had been this magical incident some years prior to the story, and the outcome had left him scarred in body and soul. So, at the beginning of the story, he has low self-esteem, and though he is a mage, he does not have high status in society. He lives alone in his house, and he only interacts with people that buy the cleverly done magical objects he creates. And he is respected by those people, but they don't stay for long. His neighbors, they like him well enough, but he is different from them as they are commoners, and he is a mage. When the story begins, however, things turn around for him because he falls in love with a special woman who loves him back. And then, bam, she goes missing without a word. He searches all around for her, but he can't find her. And then he's told she has left the village. He thinks she left because of his feelings for her. Maybe it was something he said or something he did. But then he actually find out that she has been kidnapped by a mage who can control other people. And he follows the kidnapper, and as the story unfolds, he must face some truly terrible things. The kidnapper controls ordinary people that try to kill him, and he faces other mages and monsters in combat, first alone and then together with his love, as eventually he gets her freed. But then he gets captured, and then in the end she comes and rescues him right back, as she is also a badass, it turns out. So he rescues her and she rescues him, and they live happily ever after. Well, or at least they live happily at the end of the book. On the meta plane, he must learn to use both his strange mix of talents and the results of the incident that hurt him to his advantage. He learns how to transform each of his weaknesses into strength. And when the book is finished, he's much happier about himself. He loves her deeply and knows that she even loved him before he became worthy of her love in his own eyes. And that was basically the plot idea of the book when I started out with it. Then all the other characters came and all the other ideas came. And the middle-aged pot-bellied fire mage changed into a young, handsome, but extremely weak mage. Master Cordin evolved out of the fire mage as well, actually. I felt now that Pino needed a master to guide him and control the business because he was so much younger than originally. His love was actually at first an illiterate farmer's daughter called Emilia. But she didn't have any formal education, and she had spent all the time on a country farm. And then a clever woman I talked to, I pitched the story to her, she suggested that I should instead, take someone else, someone with an education, more resources, or, something. It would be easier for me to have a believable heroine. Another woman I told about the story said that no matter what, she just really wanted a strong female character. That was the important thing, and that was someone she would enjoy reading about. I heard wisdom here and thought, how can I do these things? And also I found out I wanted to have both male and female villains and both male and female heroes. So I even contemplated also authoring the book from the viewpoint of Ranas, the kidnapping light mage from Ilvarth. I even wrote a chapter with him as the main storyteller. It was quite fun, writing the viewpoints that he had about the kingdom he was in abroad, and he had so much scorn and contempt and envy for those people. But then I went back to the original idea, I liked that better. Pino told the story, and then later Emily, Pythiax, and Cordin came in as storytellers. But I wanted a female villain and a love story, and females with a broader outlook and more skills. So I decided to change the farmer's daughter into a noblewoman, and then that one person got too many hats on, so I split her into 3 different noblewomen. Celine, Milou, and Emily, then they were born. Celine, of course, became the villain, a lady and a rebel, wanting to learn magic at any cost, turned into a kidnapped victim for a while, but eventually turned herself into a villain or if you like, she controlled a bad situation and used it to gain magic and power. For Pino, she was all wrong as a romantic interest, and she did not really love him, or anybody else for that matter. She loved power. The second and third part of the original female hero, Emily and Milou, were kidnapped victims turned heroes, you can say. The idea was to get the reader to suspect it was an old-fashioned hero rescues damsel in distress plot, but then we twist it around, or I twist it around, and the girls become heroes. Sometimes even bigger heroes than the males in some of the chapters, which is really cool. Also, Pino has to learn that the first love is not necessarily the right one for you. It might be, but it's probably not. And I think if you look at the major things in the plot, which was developed before Pino became, Pino, you can say, that was then the Vulture Sentinel. That was, one of the big things. I had this separate idea of a town guarded by an ancient magical sentinel that could protect the town from anything, but at the cost of the user's life. And then someone special discovered its secret and used it for good. So I decided to combine that idea with the fire mages. That was originally what I wanted to do, so he would go to the town during his travels. And though I developed and changed most things about Pino, I actually kept the Vulture Sentinel story, and also the self-doubt, the low status amongst mages, and some unusual talents. The main reason why the fire mage changed into Pino was that I felt a younger, more dynamic man was more believable as an action hero. But just as important was it that fire magic frustrated me. I had a lot of thoughts around creating a magic system, and I started with fire magic. And for the really dedicated reader, and I'm looking at you here, I can reveal some secrets not found in the story about the magic system I use for the Artifacts War. But be warned that you might not like what you hear, and you might be happier not knowing. But if you have an open mind, then look at the next video and learn more about the secrets of the magic system of the Mage's world, and find out about how fire magic became strings magic and omen magic and all the other different types of magic.